Hey fam, I want you to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications. It's important for us to hear those voices, not just about April 4, 68, but also about all the other things that they worked with. Because I think we have to have a constant reminder. Jews say never forget. We have to have the exact same frame of mind. Never forget Jimmy Lee Solomon or Emmett Till. Never forget Fannie Lou Hamer, Septima Clark. Never forget A. Philip Randolph. And I can just go down the line, because that frames your state of mind today.
It not only frames the state of mind today, it helps map the future, because we're looking at North Carolina, voter suppression, gerrymandered districts, all the stuff that we covered today. Past is prologue. If we don't remember the past, we also can't tell where we're going and what we need to do to get there. One other quick reflection that I have upon hearing all this stuff, and it goes to that point, is I was in Chicago back in December doing a story about the opioid crisis. A lot of people don't really know that the opioid crisis has been in the black community for generations. But the white community is getting a lot of the attention now because of the pills and because of unemployment, all the problems that are happening in urban America. The one thing that was so striking to me about going to Chicago and reporting this story was on the west side of Chicago, and you probably know this having run the Defender when your time was there, there are entire city blocks that have not been rebuilt since 1968.
Yep.
And it is a crying shame. It is unbelievable that in a city where rent prices are going through the roof, and every city in America can probably make this claim, every major city that was touched by the riots, entire blocks that have just been abandoned and the city decided not to rebuild them. That is a constant reminder to me that every single day this work is not completed. Because every time you drive past a vacant lot and see where a building once stood that was destroyed in the anger and frustration of the martyrdom of one of America's greatest champions of civil rights, it made me angry. And I still am angry to this day, even thinking about it.
Julian.
You know, it's the Sankofa bird. Go back and get it. Go back and get what you need to move forward. And I think that this reflection, Roland, that you put out there in terms of Zernona, Dr. Lawson, all these people, this is a history that people have forgotten, and we can't forget it. I live in gentrifying D.C. On my block, you used to have to look for the white folks. Now you got to look for the black folks. Same block. Because basically, conscious policies were instituted to run black people out of parts of D.C. Used to be Chocolate City, now it's Chocolate Chip. And they're going to blame it on the so-called uprising. It wasn't an uprising, it was conscious public policy. When we understand what Dr. King said about land use, about economic issues, and I have to always do my economist hat, but because this is economic, when we talk about what he said about economic issues, we have to understand that this is a game that is being played. We're on an unlevel playing field, and some of us okey-doke black people want to walk around singing Kumbaya and acting like everything is cool. Thank you, Roland, for this segment.
Absolutely.
Rick?
Well, I would just say I'm grateful, and I think we all are, particularly the young people watching this and who will watch it, and the parents who are watching this. You know, this is on a digital platform. I mean, you can play it over and over again. As a man now in his early 50s who had the honor to spend some time with some of those elders, I'm always reminded, the Kikongo people have a word, lufuki. It almost means the essence. When you sit with an elder who was your age, I mean, you know, most of those folks were in their 40s. Jim Lawson would be considered an elder because he was in his 40s, but they're really in their 30s, and in Jesse's case, in his 20s. And for me now, thinking about the times I sat with C.T. Vivian and talked about books because we're book collectors, or listening to Jesse Jackson pull all the facts in the world out of the thin air and weave a narrative nobody else could do. But to see Jim Lawson, I'm from Nashville. So to see him in his 90s sit with you, man, that is Lufuki. That is the way you move essence from life to life to life. Young people watch these videos and understand that these elders are going to make transition, but one day, if you're lucky, if we're lucky, we will reach their age. But because of their sacrifice, we have the right and the responsibility to take the next lap and win this victory.
Folks, if you go to my YouTube channel, we actually have a part section there called MOK 50. You can see the full interviews with Reverend Dr. James Lawson, with Clarence Jones, with Andrew Young, with Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr., with Reverend C.T. Vivian. What I purposely wanted to share with you over the next hour, the interview with June Clayton, You'll hear that she, of course, joined the movement along with her husband. She worked with Coretta Scott King as she traveled around the country singing, raising money for SCLC. But it was what she said, the things, because she also was the last person in Atlanta who worked with him to see Dr. King alive. She drove Dr. King to the airport to go fly to Memphis. And I want you to hear what she has to say about how he felt about the Poor People's Campaign, how he felt about when he returned from Memphis, what he was going to do, where he talked about a sabbatical. You'll hear what she had to say of how his kids had this feeling about him dying. They did not want him to leave. And you'll hear her describe how they said it and the way they said it that was totally different than what they had ever said before. You'll hear her talk about being with Coretta Scott King as she navigated those days after his assassination and how she dealt with the world coming to their Atlanta home. And so over the next hour, we're going to play that for you. I certainly want to thank Joseph, Greg, and Julianne for being here on this day, April 4th, 2019.
Thank you, brother.
And it was, and again, this is about us telling our story. I told you earlier, Dr. King's book is Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community. Every person, but especially every black person, should have your own copy of this.
Yes.
And as you see, you can go through mine, and you're going to see, I think I used about 3 or 4 highlighters going through this book as much as possible. And I also mentioned Dorothy Cotton, who died last year. She was the only woman in the inner circle of Dr. King. She ran the citizenship education program. If you joined SCLC and you wanted to work with them, you had to go through her training. I want you to read about what she talked about, having to reprogram Black America. And so this is her book. It's called If Your Back's Not Bent. If your back's not bent, the role of the citizenship education program in the civil rights movement. Dorothy Cotton, she was the SCLC Director of Education. You want to get this book. I got it after my interview with her. And so I never got a chance for her to sign it. But I want you to actually get your own copy of this because we also need to understand exactly what our history and where our stories come from. Want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. By going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, you can make this possible.